You know that moment when your life finally looks right on paper, the job that pays the bills, the relationship that's stable enough, the routine that keeps everything functioning. From the outside, people look at you and think your story is going well. But inside, something feels quietly wrong. Not catastrophic, not dramatic, just off. A kind of emptiness you can't explain without sounding ungrateful. Because yes, technically everything is fine, and yet you're not. That's the part nobody warns you about. The moment when external success stops matching your internal reality. It's the post-achievement grief no one talks about. That silent sadness that shows up after you get what you thought you wanted. You reach the top of your little mountain, only to realize you brought the wrong backpack. Nothing inside it fills you. Nothing inside it feels like you. And the world doesn't help. The world says, you should be happy. You should feel lucky. You have everything. But they're talking about the life outside you. You're talking about the life inside you. There's a difference. A massive one. Because the outside can be polished, organized, and stable, and the inside can still feel like a dark room you haven't opened in years. Most people think emptiness comes from lacking something. But sometimes emptiness comes from living a life that isn't yours. A life built on expectations instead of curiosity, on routine instead of meaning, on survival instead of truth. And that mismatch, that quiet misalignment, creates a psychological tension that feels like you're walking around with the volume down on your own soul. You can sense something is missing, but you don't know what, because no one ever taught you how to listen to yourself beyond your accomplishments. We live in a culture that rewards productivity, not self-awareness. A culture that tells you to climb every ladder, but forgets to ask if the ladder is leaning on the right wall. So you wake up one day with a life that seems fine, but not alive. You have comfort, but not connection. Security, but not meaning. Predictability, but not presence. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Emptiness doesn't come from what you lack. It comes from what you don't allow yourself to feel. All those emotions you pushed aside so you could function. All those dreams you put on mute because they didn't fit the script. All those pieces of yourself you minimized so you could be palatable, acceptable, efficient. The emptiness you feel isn't failure. It's feedback. It's the part of you that refuses to die inside a life that doesn't match your internal blueprint. But here's the twist. When everything in your life looks fine, your emptiness becomes harder to justify. You start gaslighting yourself. You say things like, I shouldn't feel this way. Other people have it worse. Why can't I just be grateful? You punish yourself for feeling what you feel, and the emptiness grows in the shadows of that self-judgment. Because emptiness is not ingratitude. Emptiness is the alarm system of the soul. It rings when you're disconnected from yourself. It rings when you've outgrown a version of your life but haven't stepped into the new one yet. It rings when your truth is knocking on the door and you keep pretending you don't hear it. And that's why it's so confusing. Your life looks stable, but internally, you're in transition. In an in-between space, not broken, not lost, just waiting for your inner world to catch up to the outer one. You're not empty. You're underfed, underheard, underlived. There are parts of you that haven't been touched in years, parts starving for curiosity, for presence, for meaning, for a life that feels like yours again. That's why this emptiness matters. Not because it's a problem, but because it's an invitation. An invitation to stop performing the life people expect from you and start remembering the life that expects you. This feeling is not the end. It's the beginning. The moment your soul stops cooperating with a script that no longer fits, everything seems fine. But you're not here to seem fine. You're here to feel alive. Let's go a layer deeper. Because this emptiness you feel, it's not random. It didn't show up out of nowhere. It has a map, a structure, a logic hidden under your emotional noise. And if you listen carefully, it reveals exactly where your inner world stopped matching the outer life you built. The first crack usually appears in silence. Not in tragedy, not in conflict, but in those quiet moments when nothing distracts you. When the noise settles and you suddenly hear yourself breathing, and the breathing feels hollow. It's the moment when your achievements stop giving you dopamine, when your routines turn into autopilot, when the things that used to excite you now feel like tasks to be completed rather than experiences to be lived. That's because humans don't crave fine. We crave aliveness. We crave inner movement, growth, curiosity, expansion, meaning. And when that movement stops, emptiness steps in to fill the space. It's not a malfunction, it's a message. Sometimes the emptiness comes from living a life shaped more by survival than by intention. You did what you had to do. You chose stability over uncertainty, predictability over risk, clarity over confusion. That's normal. That's human. But eventually, the part of you that wants more than survival wakes up. It starts asking questions you've been postponing for years. Is this really my path? Or is this just what I knew how to choose at the time? Did I build this life? Or did I inherit it from expectations? And here's the catch. You can't answer those questions with logic alone, because emptiness isn't a thought. It's a sensation. A felt sense of misalignment between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Yes, pretending. Not in a fake theatrical way, but in the quiet way we all pretend when we settle for a life we've outgrown. You can outgrow a job, outgrow a relationship dynamic, outgrow a version of yourself that once made sense. And when you outgrow something, keeping it because it's fine creates emotional suffocation, a low-grade inflammation of the soul. That's the emptiness. The inflammation, the swelling between what you feel and what you allow yourself to admit. Another layer, a lot of your emptiness is borrowed. Not even yours. It comes from social norms that tell you what should make you happy, what boxes you must check, what timeline you must follow. So you follow the script. You do it right. And then you look around and think, this isn't happiness. This is a template. And that realization hits like a cold wind. Not only are you unsatisfied, you're unsatisfied in a life that wasn't truly chosen by you. And that creates guilt, a guilt that sits quietly beneath the emptiness. Am I ungrateful? Why don't I feel what I'm supposed to feel? What's wrong with me? But nothing is wrong with you. What's wrong is the idea that fulfillment comes from meeting external checklists instead of internal truths. Because here's the reality most people never learn. Fulfillment is not the result of comfort. It's the result of connection. Connection with your purpose, your values, your curiosity, your emotional truth, your inner world. You can have comfort without connection. And that's when comfort becomes confinement. Another cause of emptiness no one explains. Emotional residues, unhealed grief, loneliness disguised as independence, childhood wounds disguised as perfectionism, fear disguised as productivity, avoidance disguised as strength. All these unresolved layers accumulate quietly until your internal landscape becomes numb, not broken, numb, like the volume turned down on your own experience. And because you've learned to function so well, no one notices. You barely notice until the numbness becomes a gap, and the gap becomes emptiness, and the emptiness becomes a quiet ache you can't ignore. But here's the paradox. This emptiness is actually a sign of your capacity to feel deeply. It means your emotional system is healthy enough to alert you when your inner world is starving. It means your soul is refusing to settle for a half-lived life. This is why the emptiness gets louder when your life looks fine, because there are no external distractions left to blame. You removed chaos, instability, crisis, and beneath that, the truth showed up. And the truth is simple. You want something real, something that belongs to you, something that reflects who you're becoming, not who you were. This emptiness is not an ending. It's the ignition point of a new emotional architecture. Your system is reorganizing itself around honesty, not performance. And maybe, just maybe, you've reached the stage of life where chasing more isn't the goal anymore. It's chasing yourself, your desires, your curiosity, your authenticity, your presence, your aliveness. This feeling isn't a void, it's a doorway. And even though it feels uncomfortable, lonely, or heavy, it's guiding you toward the version of yourself you keep postponing because your current life is fine. But fine is not why you were born, and your soul knows it. There's a moment, quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible, when emptiness turns into clarity. It doesn't happen during a crisis. It happens in the stillness after you finally stop fighting the feeling. When you stop trying to outrun it, outwork it, outthink it, because emptiness isn't your enemy. It's your inner compass stripped of every distraction. The truth is, you've changed, and your life hasn't caught up yet. No one tells you this. Transformation is not dramatic. It's not fireworks or epiphanies or overnight awakenings. It starts as a soft discomfort, a subtle mismatch, a quiet knowing that whispers, this isn't me anymore. But we're so afraid of disappointing the expectations around us that we pretend not to hear it. We try to squeeze our evolving self into the old identity, the old routines, the old dreams, the old definitions of success. That compression becomes emptiness. Because emptiness is simply the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And the moment you understand that, something shifts. You stop interpreting the hollow feeling as failure, and you start seeing it as a signal that you've reached the limit of living on autopilot. This is the turning point. The day you stop asking, why do I feel empty? And start asking, what part of myself have I abandoned in order to be fine? Maybe you abandoned creativity. Maybe you abandoned desire. Maybe you abandoned connection, vulnerability, curiosity, or truth. Maybe you abandoned the version of you that dreamed without permission. The you who believed life could be more than predictable comfort. And here's the good news. You can reclaim all of it. Every part of you that went silent is still there, waiting for your return. But the reconnection doesn't start with a dramatic life change. It starts with presence. Presence is the antidote to emptiness, not productivity, not achievement, not improvement. Presence. Because presence brings you back into your own body, into your breath, your senses, your actual experience, instead of the performance of being fine. When you sit with yourself, without numbing, without rushing, without escaping, you begin to feel again. And feeling is what emptiness wanted from you all along. Not perfection, not control, just honesty. So ask yourself, gently without judgment, what part of my life looks good, but doesn't feel good? What am I maintaining because it's safe? What am I suppressing because it's inconvenient? What am I avoiding because the truth would demand change? These questions are uncomfortable because they're doorways, and doorways lead to movement, to choices, to responsibility, to freedom. And freedom is terrifying when you've lived too long in a cage built of expectations. But what's more terrifying is staying there, waking up one day and realizing that you lived a life perfectly curated from the outside, but hollow on the inside. If that scares you, good. It means your soul is waking up, and awakening always begins with a crack. A fracture in the illusion that fine is enough. The emptiness you feel is not the end. It's the invitation to step into a life that matches your consciousness, not your conditioning. To build a life that doesn't just look good, but feels true. A life where your relationships require presence, not performance. Where your goals reflect who you are, not who you're supposed to impress. Where your peace matters more than your image. Where your curiosity matters more than your fear. Because when you build from truth, alignment returns, not instantly, but steadily. The numbness lifts, the spark comes back. You start to recognize yourself again. And one day, not with fireworks, but with a quiet exhale, you realize the emptiness is gone. Not because something external saved you, but because you finally came home to yourself. If this message reached you, if something inside you softened, cracked, or woke up, then don't rush past it. Let it land. Let it echo. You're not alone in this feeling. Millions of people walk through their lives pretending to be fine, carrying the same silent ache you carry. But you're doing something different. You're listening, you're questioning, you're willing to look within. And that willingness is the beginning of everything. If you felt seen here, if this spoke your truth, stay close. This space is where we break the patterns, where we breathe again, where we remember who we really are. Because emptiness isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of a deeper one. Subscribe, stay close, and keep walking with us. This is Human Wave, where awakened minds rise into a life of wholeness and fulfillment.